Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't been here before, I'm Jamie. I read a ton of books. And it's the end of January, beginning of February, so it's time for another video. So January, I was going to do TBR-a-thon. And I kind of started out okay doing TBR-a-thon. And quickly got derailed by reading or listening to series, and spent most of the month on 3 series. That meant that I didn't really get to a lot of the other books I was going to get to, and TBR-a-thon is great if I don't feel like being competitive, but I didn't really feel as motivated for it as I thought I would be. So yeah, it just didn't really happen. I'm still finishing up a buddy read with a reader who contacted me last month about doing some buddy reading. So yes, I'm mostly done with The Shadow of the Wind. We broke it up by sections, and so I think we're supposed to be about done with it this weekend or next weekend. So I'm going to finish that up, and then I'll be done with Shadow of the Wind. But it'll count for February because it's not done yet. So I do have that one in print. I actually own a copy somewhere in this house. I don't know where, but I borrowed another copy from the bookstore so that I could keep up with what pages we stopped at. So I do have a print copy of Shadow of the Wind that when I finish it, I can show it off in a video and then take it back to the bookstore. I finished one print book that's going to my sister. Although I think she's read it already, so it'll probably go to the bookstore or somewhere else. But that's it. Everything else was audiobooks or ebooks. The ebooks were mostly ARCs. I finished some good ones. I finished a few audiobooks from the library in particular that were really good. The Lion Woman of Tehran was excellent. By Marjan Kamali, I believe. Yes. So Lion Women of Tehran is really good. And A Calamity of Souls by Baldacci is also really good. No real duds, just those ones really stood out as excellent books. So, highly recommended. I enjoyed the Louise Penny series, the Inspector Gamache books. It would be really nice if Ms. Penny has another inspector that she wants to branch off with, or maybe a side character that can get their own series or something, because I'm really starting to feel with Inspector Gamache that it's very much like the Commissario Brunetti series by Donna Leon, where the inspector has gotten so far past his prime. He's old, he's crotchety, he really needs to retire. He's felt like he needs to retire for forever. He keeps getting dragged into these things. And there's corruption, and things just seem to be getting worse, and he needs to be able to retire, and not have to keep going back and stopping terrorism and getting shot and things like that. So I've been enjoying it. I know there's 2 more. There's the Grey Wolf and the Black Wolf, I believe. One of them is recently out, came out in 2024, and one comes out in 2025. I do not have the arc for the new one, so as far as things stand now, I have to wait until it comes out. Darn. I will listen to the other one as soon as my hold comes in, so that will happen soon, I'm sure, because they can only have it for so many weeks before it renews or gets returned if someone has a hold on it. So it should come to me next. So I don't know if it's going to fit for the right prompt at the right time, because we are in Get a Clue Readathon now, and that is competitive. I'm on Team Colonel Mustard. So if that book comes in and I don't have a prompt I can match it to, I'm just going to finish it anyway because I need to finish it. But otherwise, I'm very much motivated to stick to the readathon. There are enough extra prompts and room prompts that I should be able to stay busy reading with it for most of the month. I don't know if there will be another buddy read following the one that we're going to be wrapping up. My guess is maybe we'll do a little bit of a rest and then start another one in March if we want to. Yeah, but we haven't really discussed it yet. And I know there's some buddy reads going on, or probably going to be going on in the nearish future, that we've discussed in chats and sprints and for books that I have. So it won't be too hard to get them to read them. So some of that's going to happen. I would like to get to Stephen King again. I need to read Cujo, because if you've been following along with Coda and Nicole and their sprints and their buddy reads and read-alongs last year, I was supposed to have been reading Cujo with that group, and I couldn't find my copy. And the library didn't have it, and I wasn't working at the bookstore yet, and even if I was, anytime I'm looking for Stephen King there's no Stephen King. As soon as I'm not looking for Stephen King books, we have tons. But I found it. I still have it. So I have it in stacks that I know where they are, so I can read it. I don't know if it's going to work for any prompts, but it might. So if it does, I might work it in, even though it's not yellow and it's not a mystery and it's not by a BIPOC author and it's not by an LGBTQ author. I might just read it anyway. So there's books like that are kind of on my pile of possibilities for February, even though they're not yellow. But officially, I'm reading yellow books. As in lots of yellow books. Yellow? Pretty yellow books. So I'll show you guys some of the highlights of my pile of possibilities, yellow books that I would like to get to. I don't know what all the prompts are. I know what the additional prompts are to read between the main prompts for those of us that read fast. And the way the Get a Clue Readathon works is those prompts are on a wheel, and you spin the wheel, and that tells you which prompt you're fulfilling. And if you don't like what you landed on and you want to spin again, you can, but it docks 50 points from that book. So it behooves you to stick with your roll. So I did spin the wheel for my first additional reading prompt, and it was a book with flora on the cover, like plants. So I have an audiobook that I checked out from the library, that might be what I listen to, because I would like to do an audiobook soon and get some housework done. But I need to get out of the audiobook habit a little bit and actually read print books. Yeah. So it's there. I got The Lives of Puppets by T.J. Klune, which somebody else was reading it not too long ago in sprints, and a few other people have, and it sounded good. So I will get to that one, but I'm not sure if I'm going to let myself slide back into audiobooks quite yet. The book that I'm currently reading for the first room prompt in Get a Clue is In the Company of Cheerful Ladies by Alexander McCall Smith. It's not really yellow on the cover. It has yellow on the cover. So for my personal random number generator, what color are my books going to be for the month, that was yellow, which is why I picked Colonel Mustard for my team. And for myself, it just has to have yellow on the cover at all. So I am going to try and stick to that. But it doesn't need to have a ton of yellow for me. For points for the game, that one's not going to get extra points. And the author is not BIPOC. I don't think they're LGBTQ either. It is a mystery, so it does get extra points for being a mystery. The characters are almost entirely black, but the author is not, so it's not BIPOC. It is set in Botswana, so lots of black people. And it's good so far. I accidentally spoiled myself by reading the book after this one first, because I got lazy or impatient and I could not find either one in print on my shelves when I wanted to get back into the series last month. But I found the audiobook for The Good Husband of Zebra Drive, and so I listened to that because that was the lowest number book I could find that I hadn't read yet. And then I found my print books. So I already know kind of what's going to happen because I read the book after it. Oops. But I'm finishing this one off so that I will be done with it and it can go away too. And it does meet the prompt, which is nice. I'm going to finish it tonight and then get on to my additional prompt with the foliage or flora on the cover. So the other books that I have stacked up here that I will be considering for additional prompts and for room prompts if they work are Reflex by Dick Francis, No Body by Nancy Pickard, Empire of the Eagle by Andre Norton and Susan Schwartz, which is not a murder mystery, but it is very nicely yellow. And I did learn that if I do all murder mysteries, afterwards I need to not read murder mysteries for a while just because it's too much. So I've pointedly got some non-murder mysteries in my stack. This one's a nice lemony yellow, very pale, but definitely still yellow. This is Little Kingdoms by Stephen Milhauser. He's an author that does really good short stories. But I've not read Little Kingdoms yet. And I don't know if it's a novel. I think it is. He didn't write that many novels so far. This one is called Please Don't Eat the Daisies. And it's an older book that somebody at the bookstore was like, oh, I read that. It was good. She couldn't tell me anything about it because it had been too long. But she remembered that it was good. So it has good vibes. It is by Jean Kerr. I believe Jean Kerr is a mystery writer, but I'm not sure. I think it's a mystery. Here's a classic sci-fi, Hero's Journey by Sterling A. Lanier. And this one's one where the color is yellow, and then the gray tone image is on top of it. So there's lots of shades of yellow on that one. All Friends Are Necessary by Thomas Moniz. This one is an arc that I was going to try and get to last year, and it didn't happen. I have Flights by Olga Tokarczuk. I have an arc of her more recent book, I believe, on NetGalley. I'm pretty sure I got that one. I know she's got a new book coming out, or that's just come out. I think it's coming out. But don't quote me on that. I haven't looked recently. Cane River by Lalita Tademi. Not Black author, but BIPOC. Giorgio Agamben, State of Exception. I'm not sure if this one is long enough, though. But I still plan on reading it just so I can revisit it. So it probably won't be for points for my team, because it's too short. But it is yellow, and I am revisiting some political theory books in light of all of the craziness going on in the United States right now. If you have not been aware of all the craziness going on in the United States right now, as some people have pointed out, not everything that's going on right now is straight up fascism. And it's complicated by the fact that a lot of what's going on is because we elected these people. And some of what they're doing is illegal. Some of what they're doing is being stopped by the checks and balances in place in our government. I personally don't think that they're going to stand up to the onslaught much longer. But it depends on what the rest of the statesmen in our government do. Because they're elected too, and they will be, some of them, standing for re-election in not too much longer. And if they want to be re-elected, they need to not be the ones responsible for all sorts of horrible things people are going to blame them for. So, there may be more motivation for other people we've elected to actually stand up for our government and for our country. We'll just have to see. Otherwise, we have tariffs, if you haven't heard about them. It was Wall Street Journal, I think, that was calling it one of the stupidest ideas so far, or something like that. Like, just ridiculous. Basically, we're making everything more expensive for ourselves by having these tariffs. And then on top of that, the countries that the tariffs are pointed at are probably going to put tariffs on goods from here going there, which is also going to make things worse. And none of this was necessary. We didn't have to start this in the first place. And there's a lot going on. So it's a good time to revisit some political theory, because some of that theory that was kind of up in the air and boring when I read it before might be more interesting when read in the context of what's going on now. Maybe not. So there may be more political theory this year than normal as I poke at it a little bit more. I did read Capital last year, so kind of got me thinking more about theory and making my brain actually work again. It's been a while. Anyway, back to my books. I have Ship of Fools by Catherine Ann Porter, which is all yellow, and my sister has a copy of it as well. So if I start it, she might also start it, and then we can kind of sort of buddy read, even though I will finish it long before she does. But that could be fun. The Rise and Fall of Athens, 9 Greek Lives by Plutarch. This is one where I had to put it on a white piece of paper and double check in the sunlight that it is in fact lemon yellow, not white, not cream, but it is lemon yellow. So, yay. Because this is also something I want to read for Historathon, because we're in the ancient history quadrant of Historathon right now. I have Naomi Novak, Uprooted, which is all yellowy and pretty. The Red Mosaic by Patrick O'Malley, which is a murder mystery. Apothecary Rose by Candace Robb, a murder mystery, historical murder mystery. Mischief in Magadi by Joan Hess. This one I'm not sure is yellow enough. The Curtain for the Cardinal. But it is a murder mystery, so it'll still get extra points for murder mysteryness. This one is by Elizabeth Eyre. I don't know if you can hear the extra cat, but you might hear a strange noise. That is the extra cat. His name is Baby Lou. He's all white with a black tail and a black spot on his face. And he is talking a lot. He's not really sure about this being in a house thing. But he doesn't want to go outside either. So, I don't know. Right now he's just sitting in the window in the other room, kind of singing the song of captivity or something like that. Poor little dude. This is another one that probably is not going to count for points, for extra points as being yellow. Because for the purposes of points, the yellow is everywhere but where it's supposed to be. The front is not really very yellow. The spine and the entire back of the book is all yellow. But for the purposes of my having picked yellow for the month myself, I can still work it in if I really want to. So if I get in the mood to read some European history, Lotharingia will be one of the things on my pile of possibilities, by Simon Winder. This is one from my sister that I might read Ship of Fools with. All right. Few more books here. Got The Help by Catherine Stockett. The History of the Kelly Gang by Peter Carey. Have Fuzz by Mary Roach. The Undomestic Goddess by Sophie Kinsella. Deadliest Enemy by Michael T. Osterhelm, PhD, MPH, and Mark Olshaker. The Summer of Kim Novak by Hekhan Nasser. I don't know if that's how you say his first name, by the way. I know that there's a pronunciation rule that A with a little circle on top means, but I'm not really sure which language I'm aiming for. Maybe Persian? I'm not really sure, because I'm not really sure. So, yeah. If I figure it out and I read it, I'll try to get it right when I finish it. But, yeah. I'm not even sure which language I'm aiming at for that one, so we'll find out. Radiance of Tomorrow by Ishmael Bea. This one's kind of a greeny yellow, but definitely on the yellow end. The Lacuna by Barbara Kingsolver. I could have sworn that I listened to this audiobook. But if I did, I didn't mark it off. And I don't really remember it. So maybe it was one of those where I listened to it, but I wasn't really listening. I don't know. So actually on Goodreads and on my spreadsheet, it's not marked. So, yeah, I need to finish it so I can resolve that it's actually done. And another lemony yellow book, A Wild and Lonely Place by Marcia Muller. And I've never read this series, but if you saw my previous video, I'm pretty sure that was where I was talking about the bookstore again. I've picked up the M section as my responsibility at the bookstore. So this is one of the M authors. And if I like it, then I can keep an eye out for other books in this series. So, yeah. And I'll probably start prioritizing more murder mysteries by authors whose names start with M, like last names. Because while I'm shelving or organizing my section, I get such a kick out of being able to tell people about books in my section. But it's so much easier if I've read them, So, anyway. So yeah, that's some of my pile of possibilities. But the books I finish at the end of each week will be very much based on what the prompts are. So I won't know for sure what I'm even aiming for until we get the prompts. So for tonight, I'm going to finish In the Company of Cheerful Ladies. And then something that has Flora on the cover, which I was thinking about doing the audiobook, but that's Flora. And it's on the cover, and it's right smack in the middle. And there's more Flora, there's grass, there's shrubberies and trees and everything. So I might do this one. There are a few others that also have, like, Flora, and this one there's roses on the cover. So I've got a few options. Uprooted has floral motifs. Let's see if there's a big rose on that one. So it'll just depend on what mood I'm in and whether I'm ready to listen to an audiobook for 7 hours, because The Lives of Puppets is a 15-hour audiobook, I think. At 2 times speed, that's about 7.5 hours. And I have resolved that I'm not going up above 2.5 speed listening to audiobooks. I know a lot of people have gone up to 3, 3.2, 3.5. I can't. Or at least, for some people, at the end of last year, they decided that they read too many books and they weren't getting enough out of them, or they weren't enjoying them. So they're trying to read fewer books. I didn't have any issue with the number of books I read, but the audiobooks where I sped them up past about 2.25-ish speed, I got less out of them, except in particular cases. And there's always those books where the reader's reading so slow that if you bump it up to 2 times speed, it's just a little bit less slow. So barring those, I'm just sticking with 2 times speed. And very judiciously raising the speed past there. Because, I don't have any issue with whatever my numbers turn out to be. My first iteration of this video, which the cats interrupted. The sweet little darlings. But yeah, during that video, I didn't even know how many books I finished in January, and so I had to look it up, and yeah. So I finished 39 books in January. But it's not like I was like racing the clock or, even really keeping track. I just log them on Goodreads when I finish them, and it counts them. Yeah. And it just so happens it's 39 books. So, yay. Most of that was 3 series. The Mrs. Jeffries mysteries, the Inspector Gamache series by Louise Penny, and the Number One Ladies Detective Agency series by Alexandra McCall Smith. So, yeah, and I really don't think about numbers, but I do want to make sure that I'm not speeding up my audiobooks to the point where I'm just racing to get them done. And if I want them done that badly, if I just want them to go away, then maybe they need to be DNF'd so I can move on, which I don't generally do, and I still don't want to make DNF such an easy option that I start being lazy. Because I do read a lot of harder books, political theory and history and stuff, that they are hard to read if you've been reading fiction for a while. And part of my self-discipline for reading what I want to read is not getting so lazy that it's too hard to read those difficult books. So I don't want to make DNF that easy. I did, by the way, DNF a book this month that I'm not even going to count it anywhere. But that Assistant to the Villain book that everybody was reading and all excited about. And I think I talked about this briefly in a previous video too. But yeah, we had a sprayed edge Assistant to the Villain that showed up at the bookstore, and whoever priced it didn't know what it was and put it on the cozy cart for $1. And I needed a book to read during my break, and so I was like, I'll try it and see if it's any good, because if it is, it's $1, and it's something that I know people are excited about. I finished 3 pages. I got to a point where it started reading more like a romance than a fantasy, and I'm done. I can't do this. So, yeah. I am not a romantasy reader. I'm pretty sure. So I discovered that about myself. I was wondering, because I hadn't read anything that was being touted as romantasy yet. So that one, not for me. Not it. So yeah, actually had a DNF. Not gonna count it for numbers for anything. Although if it shows up in a list challenges list, I'm checking it off because I read enough of it to DNF it, and I'm good. But that's the only place where it's going to matter that I DNF'd it. So, anyway. Yay! A rare DNF from the Jamie. No kittens. I'm hoping not to have kittens for a little while so that I can regroup. I've got my friends helping me with restocking some of the supplies that I need to restock, so I'm ready for new kittens when it's kitten season. And next time I go to a store like Walmart where they have lots of those cardboard trays, I'm going to pick up some more of those, because our Walmart never picks up all the empty cardboard trays off the shelves. They're always just, lingering and making the shelves look scuzzy. So it's easy then to go along and gather them up in your cart and take them home, because they make really good litter boxes for kittens when you're doing kitten rescue. Because that way you can just throw them out. You don't have to worry about contamination. And yeah. So, so I'm working on that right now, restocking my supplies, getting ready for the new kitten season. We have 3 adults that we rescued from the alley. And I don't normally work with adults. My extra cat, Baby Lou, is an anomaly for me. I can't really touch him yet. He's not really feral, but he might as well be right now. And I don't know how tame he's going to be by the time I'm going to get him fixed at the beginning of March. It may be something where I have to set a trap and catch him in it and just get him TNR'd that way, even though he's in my house. He's going to be one of those. If I can get him tame enough, then he'll go to a rescue and they'll continue to work with him. Otherwise, we'll get him ear-tipped, put him out, and let him rejoin the colony that he came from, even though they don't like him and he doesn't really like them. But if he's not really going to cooperate with being a house cat, that's going to be his best option, and he'll at least have people that look out for him and feed him and stuff. So right now it's all up in the air, but thankfully I don't have kittens as well, so I can focus on the cat. And at least, remarkably, there haven't been a lot of fights yet with this cat. One of my cats, Julian, is really annoyed about this new cat being here. But he's not really aggressive. He's defensive and annoyed. So I was expecting it to be a lot worse, because Baby Lou just kind of invited himself into a room that I can't close the door to. So he's just with the rest of my cats. He's intimidated enough that he's not coming out of that room most of the time, but yeah. So that's the cat adventure right now. And then we have 2 other cats that are in the other part of the house. We're in kind of a duplexy sort of house. So my housemate lives in the other part of the house. It's like its own separate unit. And she has 2 other cats that we brought in. All 3 of them we brought in for that one night where we set a record low, where the official record low was negative 17 that night. And then in some places it actually got colder. There were some stations that reported a negative 19 that night. So we brought them in the day before and just kept them inside so they wouldn't freeze. And the other 2 cats are settling in nicely with her cats. So I don't know if she's going to end up keeping them, but it is a possibility. So that's the cat adventures right now, and they're all big, and it's so weird because I don't rescue big cats, but it's going smoother than I was anticipating. So far, so good. Anyway, I'm going to get back to my book and check on my kitty again and reheat my coffee again. And I will check in about a week. I was gonna do my favorite books of January. And then I looked at them like, I don't know, they're all in the same series. But they weren't all. And Orbital was the first book I finished in January. Then the series, lots of series, more series. It took forever for me not to be reading series. I did finish 4 books in the David Hunter series by Simon Beckett. And I'm done with that series. The last one I read was book 4, and I got a 3-star from me, and that was being generous. So I am done with those. Near the end of January, I finished a few books that were not series. I finished Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera, which was a 4.5 star from me, rounded to 5 on Goodreads. It was good. Blogger shows up to investigate a murder where the girl who everyone thinks did it can't remember what happened. that one was fun. A World of Curiosities by Louise Penny was the next one I finished. That one was book 18. That was the last of the Louise Penny books that I finished, and was a 5-star from me. So a whole string of 5 stars on Goodreads. Some Murders in Berlin was what I read after that by Karen Robards. That one was good. It was a murder mystery in Berlin during World War II under the Nazis. So that one was an interesting setting. And the murderer, the Nazis would like the murderer to be a Jew. So there's a lot of pressure on the investigator to pin it on a Jew. And yeah, it was an interesting one. Demon of Unrest by Eric Larson was a 5-star read about the beginning of the U.S. Civil War and how it happened. So the people and the circumstances that made it even possible for the United States to fall into a civil war. And sort of all the dynamics around that. It turned out to be really good. And then after that, the next 5-star was The Lion Women of Tehran by Marjan Kamali. And A Calamity of Souls by David Baldacci. So those are my top recommendations for January, along with Orbital. That was 4.5 stars. It was good. Maybe 4.25 stars, but somewhere in there. And yeah, lots of good books. Most of them are in series. And I'm going to say that's a good wrap for January. So there you go. Now I don't have to make a whole separate video for you guys to wrap up those books. And we can get into February and make Colonel Mustard the winning team. Yeah, if you haven't joined Get a Clue Readathon, I will try to put the link for the Readathon announcement in the description so that you can join if you want to. Colonel Mustard is my team. And you definitely want to be on the winning team, and we're going to try and make sure that we are the winning team. Okay, I'm maybe not competitive enough to pull that off, but we still might win. So, anyway. See you guys in the next video or on sprints somewhere. Talk to you later. Happy reading. Bye!